Chief Mike Goldstein, followed by Chief Andy Bolin.
Mr. Chair, Senator Limmer, and committee members,
Chief
thank you for the opportunity to testify in front of you this afternoon. I'm here representing the Minnesota Chiefs of Police Association and the Minnesota Peace and Police Officers Association as well. I completely understand that there are different opinions on this issue, and while I respectfully attempt to understand the pro-legalization movement, I would ask that my personal and professional perspectives on this issue also be respected. Further, my testimony this afternoon is based on the proposed legislation to legalize the recreational use of marijuana and has absolutely nothing to do with the existing legal provisions that allow for medicinal use of cannabis. The thoughtful work that went into that legislation was carefully crafted and is attempting to provide a medical remedy to those with qualifying ailments. Based on the many irrefutable facts that have been gathered from credible studies and based on the vetted data from states that have legalized the recreational use of marijuana, I cannot fathom how this is a good idea for Minnesota. While I am philosophically opposed to the legalization of marijuana, if it is ultimately legalized, the proposed bill is fraught with problems. Also, if the proposed legislation is passed into law, there will be two undisputed beneficiaries: big marijuana and those that want to get high. Everything else related to this movement will be at a cost. Here is what we know. The tax revenues that will be generated from commercially available marijuana will pale in comparison to the costs associated with the expanded use of this substance. For example, in Colorado, the ratio of revenue to expense is for every $1 earned, they spend over $4 in expense due to the legalization of marijuana. California is also experiencing great shortfalls. We know that users will chase a bigger high and will demand products with higher levels of THC, which as a result will assist the illicit market in its distribution of marijuana. Further, we know the illicit tax-free market will flourish in that users will want to purchase their marijuana at a cheaper price than what is commercially available if this is passed. We know that some involved with the illicit trade in Colorado also operate legal dispensaries. They have a way of laundering their money. We know that traffic crashes will increase, which will result in more injuries and deaths. While the state is making positive strides with hand-free legislation to impact distracted driving tragedies, why are we adding to this volatile mix? In Colorado alone, marijuana-related traffic deaths have increased by 66%. Due to the high concentration of THC in some cannabis-based products, some users will have adverse reactions that cause behavioral incidents. As a result, we know that law enforcement will be called to more mental health disturbances by those who are experiencing a psychotic episode. Law enforcement is already inundated with the mental health crisis calls. Along with traffic crashes and other medically related calls for services due to impairment, the mental health concern due to THC overdoses, police, fire, and EMS resources will be further strained, causing local communities to combat potential staffing and increased cost considerations.
Chief, I'm going to have to ask you to wrap it up.
Okay. We know that the current bill prohibits employers from using marijuana as a disqualifier for employment. That's a problem for us in law enforcement. We know that Minnesota is known for excellent educational systems, healthcare, industry, and quality of life. It is one of the very best states to reside in, but I believe this will erode our quality of life. The legislature has worked hard to combat big tobacco over the last decade, and I wonder if we are poised to combat big marijuana 10 or 20 years from now when we realize what this social experiment has cost us. With that, Mr. Chair and members of the committee, I thank you for your time and request that this bill, as it's currently written, be voted down for the betterment of our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Goldstein.